Chris, and this is News Recap. No fluff, straight to the point. Security concerns are rising nationwide, affecting politicians, public figures, and celebrities. Israel has launched a major ground offensive in Gaza, forcing tens of thousands of Palestinians to flee. 2 men were found dead by hanging in Mississippi. Donald Trump is suing the New York Times for $15 billion. Vice President J.D. Vance and White House advisor Stephen Miller appeared on the Charlie Kirk Show on Monday talking about combating what they call far-left violence. Vance encouraged people to report anyone, quote, celebrating Charlie's murder, even suggesting they contact employers. Someone even created a website collecting reports of anti-Kirk extremism, which has received over 63,000 submissions and was rebranded on Monday as the Charlie Kirk Data Foundation. Since the assassination, workers from colleges to airlines have faced scrutiny over their comments. Funny enough, those exact things are being condemned by his counterpart.
The organized doxing campaigns, the organized riots, the organized street violence, the organized campaign dehumanization, vilification, posting people's addresses, combining that with messaging that's designed to trigger and incite violence, and the actual organized cells that carry out and facilitate the violence. It is a vast domestic terror movement.
Critics point out the double standard targeting left-leaning individuals is encouraged, while similar actions against right-leaning figures are labeled terrorism. Law enforcement says the suspect accused of killing Kirk acted alone. And while Vice President J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller promised to target extremist networks, many say that kind of rhetoric is actually dividing and very dangerous. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says his office has seen a surge in threats in the days since Charlie Kirk's assassination. Pritzker called on President Trump to condemn political violence outright.
I would like to hear the President of the United States, instead of pointing fingers, simply say that political violence has no place in this country, and that the president does not condone it. And the targeting of one group or another group by the President of the United States, as he did on Friday, is completely inappropriate.
According to the Utah County Attorney's Office, earlier today, Robinson was charged with aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, and other offenses. Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty. He had a virtual court appearance this evening at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker isn't the only one warning that rhetoric after Charlie Kirk's assassination is dangerous. The situation has gotten so tense that people on both sides of the political spectrum are scared. Several politicians have canceled or adjusted events. Republican Nancy Mace and Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez both called off public appearances on Thursday. California Governor Gavin Newsom also rescheduled a public event. The New York Yankees even put President Donald Trump behind bulletproof glass during a game. And it's not just politicians feeling unsafe. Conservative commentator Ben Shapiro had a college talk canceled, and pop star Taylor Swift walked into Arrowhead Stadium this weekend behind a 7-foot bulletproof wall. Fans online immediately linked it to Kirk's murder, which came after his public digs at Swift and her fiancé, NFL player Travis Kelce. Israel has launched an expanded ground offensive in Gaza City, calling up 60,000 reservists for a major military push. Tens of thousands of Palestinians are fleeing the city as airstrikes and shelling intensify. The strikes come amid growing international concern over civilian casualties and the risk of worsening the humanitarian crisis. Diplomatic efforts are now focused on preventing further escalation and securing a resolution to the conflict. U.S. officials stress there is only a narrow window to reach an agreement.
Well, as you saw, the Israelis have begun to take operations there, so we think we have a very short window of time in which a deal could happen. And again, our preference, our number one choice is that this ends through a negotiated settlement where Hamas says we're going to demilitarize, we're no longer going to pose a threat, we're going to disband, we're going to release every single hostage. By the way, there shouldn't be a single hostage. If you want to fight a war, you fight wars between combatants. You don't fight wars by taking civilians as human shields.
Thousands of residents continue to flee Gaza City, seeking safety from ongoing attacks. Hospitals are overwhelmed, struggling to treat the growing number of casualties. The United Nations and international organizations are calling for urgent humanitarian aid. A government shutdown looms as President Trump urges House Republicans to pass a funding bill without Democrats. Any bill needs 60 votes in the Senate. Republicans hold 53 seats, so they still need at least 7 Democratic votes. Because without their votes, the bills cannot pass. Democratic leader Chuck Schumer had already warned that if negotiations fail, the country will face a shutdown of federal agencies. Congress now has less than 2 weeks to reach a compromise. Republicans are proposing a temporary 7-week measure, but even within the party, it does not have full support. Hardline conservatives call the proposal a betrayal and accuse their colleagues of giving in to Biden's policies. Schumer, in response, said it is the president's actions that are making a government shutdown increasingly likely. President Donald Trump announced that he is suing the New York Times for $15 billion. He says the newspaper has repeatedly spread false information about him, his family, and his business. The lawsuit names the Times, 4 reporters, and Penguin Random House, which published a book the suit calls false and defamatory. Trump claims the reporting has hurt his brand and business, including his media company stock. The Times recently reported allegations that Trump wrote a sexually suggestive note in Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book in 2003. Trump denies this. The newspaper says the lawsuit has no merit and is meant to stop independent reporting. Trump has filed other lawsuits against media companies, including ABC, The Wall Street Journal, and Paramount. Paramount recently paid him $16 million to settle a separate case. The Senate narrowly confirmed Stephen Miran to the Federal Reserve Board on Monday night, a step toward President Trump's push to lower interest rates. The vote was 48-47, with Senator Lisa Murkowski the only Republican opposed. No Democrats crossed the aisle. Miran, chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, has drawn criticism for attacking the Fed and planning to take unpaid leave from his White House role instead of resigning. He has also defended Trump's tariffs, dismissing doom and gloom warnings. Trump has repeatedly slammed Fed Chair Jerome Powell for being too late on rate cuts and demanded in all caps on Truth Social that Powell cut rates, quote, now and bigger than he had in mind. The Fed's policy setting committee is expected to announce a rate cut on Wednesday, and Miran could participate depending on when he's sworn in. Miran fills the final months of a term vacated by Adriana Kugler. Meanwhile, Trump's attempt to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook over mortgage fraud allegations has been temporarily blocked by a judge. FBI Director Kash Patel faced tough questioning from Democrats at a Senate hearing on Tuesday. Lawmakers accused him of politicizing the FBI, firing longtime agents and supervisors, and creating confusion after last week's killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk by prematurely suggesting a suspect was in custody. Patel defended his record, pointing to arrests of violent criminals, seizures of weapons, and the capture of child predators. He said the suspect in last week's killing of Charlie Kirk was arrested quickly. Patel admitted, though, he misspoke on social media about the suspect, but said he followed the law in personnel decisions. Democrats pressed him on high-profile firings, including agents involved in the January 6, 2021 Capitol investigation. Patel denied taking orders from the White House. Republicans praised Patel for refocusing the FBI on crime, drugs, and human trafficking. He also denied having an enemies list of perceived Trump opponents. Turns out you can't arrest nearly 500 immigrant workers and still expect their company to keep investing billions in your backyard. Federal agents raided a South Korean-owned battery plant in Georgia, arresting 475 workers without proper visas. Hundreds of South Koreans were flown home on a plane sent by Seoul, and their government is furious. Hyundai and LG have delayed the plant's opening to 2026. They say it's market conditions, but experts say the raid doesn't help. Trump tried to calm investors, saying foreign workers are welcome, but only to train Americans before going home. South Korea's president called the raid bewildering. Enter Christopher Landau, a top U.S. diplomat. He met with South Korean officials, expressed regret, and promised workers wouldn't face problems re-entering the U.S. He also said the State Department will make sure visas are in order and vowed to prevent similar incidents. Washington has now agreed to create a special visa working group with Seoul. Immigrant communities across the Boston area are on edge as ICE ramps up enforcement under Operation Patriot 2.0. Agents are detaining people outside workplaces, courthouses, and even shelters for the unhoused, causing fear and disruption. Families are staying home, children are skipping school, and unmarked ICE vehicles are appearing throughout immigrant neighborhoods. One landscaper was arrested after agents smashed his truck window, a warning shot to anyone still showing up for work.
I don't think there's much question that red states and blue states are being treated differently. The blue states are being targeted by Trump for not voting for him. Mayor Wu is being punished for not complying with the justice demands to end sanctuary city practices.
Residents say they support targeting criminals, but many fear for their neighbors and friends. Advocates warn that the aggressive enforcement is having a ripple effect on entire communities, highlighting tension as authorities push harder in so-called sanctuary cities. Delta State University is in shock after a student was found dead on campus on Monday, September 15th. Another man in Mississippi was also found hanging the same day. Trey Reed, 21, from Grenada, was found hanging from a tree near the pickleball courts and dorms early Monday. Delta State University police were called at 7:05 a.m. and the Bolivar County Coroner's Office arrived shortly after. Officials say there is no evidence of foul play, and social media rumors about broken bones or other injuries are false. An autopsy will be done at the Mississippi State Crime Lab. Meanwhile, in Vicksburg, Corey Zuccotis, a 36-year-old man from Brandon, was found also hanging in a wooded area near the Ameristar Casino. Warren County Sheriff Martin Pace said Zuccotis was homeless and using drugs at the time of his death. His body has also been sent to the state crime lab to determine the cause and manner of death. Authorities say the two deaths are not believed to be connected. A judge in New York has dropped terrorism charges against Luigi Mangione in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, but kept second-degree murder charges. The court said Mangione's anger at the health insurance industry does not meet the legal definition of terrorism. Federal prosecutors had also not pursued terrorism charges. Mangione appeared in court on Tuesday for the first time in the state case since February. He was handcuffed and shackled and mostly spoke with his lawyer. Supporters filled the courtroom and cheered outside when the terrorism charges were dropped. Authorities say surveillance video showed a masked gunman shooting Thompson at a New York Hilton Midtown investor conference in December 2024. Ammunition used in the attack had messages mocking how insurers delay or deny claims. Mangione was arrested 5 days later in Pennsylvania. Prosecutors say Mangione's diary, which praised the Unabomber and criticized the insurance industry, shows he planned the attack to send a message. The judge ruled the diary does not prove he meant to intimidate the public or influence the government, which is required for terrorism charges. Pre-trial hearings are set for December 1st. The second-degree murder charge carries a possible sentence of 15 years to life, with parole possible after 25 years. TikTok U.S. future is finally moving forward. The platform will be sold to an American buyer, though it's still unclear how much ByteDance, the Chinese company that owns TikTok, will remain involved or who will control the recommendation algorithm. Just hours ago, President Donald Trump signed an order extending the deadline to complete the U.S. sale of the app to December 16th. The sale comes after long-standing national security concerns that TikTok could share American users' data with China, claims the company denies.
Well, we have a deal on TikTok. I've reached a deal with China. I'm going to speak to President Xi on Friday to confirm everything up. We made a very good trade deal, and I hope good for both countries, but a very different deal than they've made in the past.
TikTok briefly went offline earlier this year after missing previous sale deadlines, and Trump has extended the timeline 3 times since January. The sale is a major step toward addressing security concerns while maintaining access for millions of Americans. And that is all for now. The top stories of the day. No fluff, straight to the point. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment. I'm Kat Pokras, and I'll see you next time.